Now here we're going to begin the second half of the animal kingdom. So because there's just so much information, I've taken the animal kingdom, divided it into two parts. And so this is going to cover the second part, reptiles, aves, and mammals. This video will be part one of the reptiles. So that our reptiles are characterized as being dioecious, meaning that we have both males and females. They're oviparous, meaning that they lay eggs on the land. They're cold-blooded, meaning they can't regulate their own body temperature. Additionally, the reptiles have scales. They have a 3-chambered heart, 2 atria, 1 ventricle. The respiratory system is a little bit different. What we're going to see with the reptiles, especially with the snakes, is they have jointed ribs that will expand the lungs. And on the snakes, you're going to see that the lungs are displaced. They're not directly across from one another, but you'll have them move down a little bit. And that's going to be so that the reptiles, when they dislocate their jaws, the snakes, they take in their food. And they're swallowing that food and digesting that food, it will not put pressure on the lungs. There are 3 pit vipers in North America. That's the cottonmouth, the copperhead, and the rattlesnake. The 3 largest snakes are the boa constrictor, the anaconda, and the python. So the pit vipers are called pit vipers because they use these little pits that are in their face area to see warm objects in the dark. So again, remember the reptiles are cold-blooded. They do not use the energy to control their body temperature. And even though our reptiles can breathe through their lungs, some will be able to absorb oxygen in the water through their mouths. The 3 orders of reptiles are Squamata, which are lizards and snakes, Chelonia, which are turtles and tortoises, and Crocodila, which are crocodiles and alligators. One of the short answer questions I would like for you to do is to know some characteristics or facts about snakes. Now, snakes are in the suborder Serpentinus or Fordia. Some things about snakes. Most snakes can climb. Almost all of them can swim. When you look at a snake, you cannot tell if it's male or female. Some snakes are able to pick up air vibrations through their lungs. New Zealand does not have snakes, not unless they are imported. Snakes are not capable of learning. Now, this is a thing I want you to be aware of. It does go back to Scripture, you know, that we had the serpent that tempted Eve, and that God told the serpent he would then crawl on his legs and would crawl on his belly. But snakes are not capable of learning. They lack an enlarged cerebral hemisphere. Birds, fish, and mammals have this enlarged cerebral hemisphere. So all of your other animals can learn. They can respond. Snakes, it is completely instinctual. The body of the snake can contain vertebrae up to between 120 and 585 vertebrae. Most snakes can have over 200 teeth. They use that to hold the prey in place as they eat it. They don't chew the prey so much with their teeth because they're pointed backwards. They can swallow big prey 3 times their size by dislocating their jaw. On a couple occasions, they have cut open a snake and they've seen the snake has swallowed an entire tiger. Snakes are able to move with special muscles that are attached to their ribs. If you were to put a snake on a piece of glass and it was a very smooth piece of glass, the snake would not be able to move because there's nothing for it to grasp onto. Snakes are deaf to airborne sounds. They move slower than an adult human, but the fastest recorded speed of a snake is about 13 kilometers per hour, which is about 8 miles per hour. The snakes do not have eyelids or external ears, and you This is one I grew up in Texas being told if you counted the number of rattles on a snake, you could tell how old it was. That is not true. When a snake sheds, it will add rattles, and a snake can shed anywhere from 1 to 6 times per year. The cobra venom is not on the list of top 10 venoms, yet it is still 40 times more toxic than cyanide. The fastest moving land snake is the black mamba. Now, I mentioned several times that snakes' jaws can dislocate in order for them to swallow large prey. The tongue also is able to collect airborne molecules, and it moves those airborne molecules up to Jacobson's organ. So when you see a snake and it's constantly sticking its tongue out, it's collecting molecules to smell and to taste. And so it moves that up to the Jacobson's organ for tasting. Now this right here is really cool, and this relates right back to scripture. So this is a photograph of the hip region of the Naja ringringan, which is an extinct snake. Now the right femur, let me see if we can get this pointer going. There we go. So the right femur is in the upper part of the photograph, and you can see that right in that area there. Once upon a time, snakes had legs, and a new discovery revealed at least one had hips too. The real kicker is that the snake has hip vertebrae, which likely allowed the critter to use its legs to dig and crawl. And so, again, following with scripture about how snakes originally did not slither or crawl until after they tempted Eve in the Garden of Eden. Now here we have the anatomy of the snake, and just a few things to show you. You've got the stomach here, got the liver. Notice that the liver is elongated, and if you've looked at the liver on other animals, that it's the largest organ, but here it's going to be elongated due to the anatomy of the snake. And then also you'll see that the right lung is here and the left lung is here, and they're offset so that when it swallows the food, you're not putting pressure on the lungs or on the heart, so that the food can pass on through the snake. This picture right here is from the Everglades in Florida, and you've got a snake right here. It had swallowed an entire alligator. The alligator was alive when the snake swallowed it. It fought to get out, ended up rupturing the snake open. So the snake killed the alligator, but the alligator killed the snake. The interesting thing about this was several years ago when I was in Florida, I did an Everglades tour, and I was about a mile away from where this happened.